Hello Avid students, Mr. Raban here, reporting from my house. I'm going to give you a lesson on three-part source integration. In order to make an in-text citation complete, it needs to be packaged. That is, it should be both introduced and discussed. Although there are a variety of ways to package citations, we're going to use templates to practice. After that, you will be able to see college research papers and other texts with citations and see how a source is brought into the text and discussed. For part 1, you will introduce the source, the author, and information about the source or author. For part 2, paraphrase or quote the source. It's important to begin with a verb and end with a citation. You will see an example of this soon. For part 3, comment on why this part of the text is important, relevant to the prompt, or significant in some other way. Try to ask yourself the so what of your evidence. Let's look at some examples from published articles. Sample 1 reads, "The American Immigration Lawyers Association, in their article, 'Immigrants are a Vital Component of American Society,' maintains that immigrants in America make every effort to assimilate. This position refutes a common belief held by critics of immigration, that foreign-born Americans refuse to learn English and do not embrace the American way of life." Notice how we lead in with the author and source information, and then part 2 of the sample starts with a verb, maintains. That's very important, and ends with a citation. That 64 in parentheses stands for the page number of the source where the information was found, and then concludes into that part 3 that comments on the researched information. Sample 2 reads, "In the article, 'The threat of terrorism is being reduced,' John Ashcroft, the U.S. Attorney General, claims that terrorism is relatively inexpensive to conduct and devilishly difficult to counter. This point is troublesome. America is spending billions of dollars on the war on terror and using its military might to fight an elusive enemy." Okay, so the part 1 is for introducing the author and article information. Part 2, yes, we start with a verb, claims, and end with a citation. That viewpoint 27 shows us that the article was in a periodical called Viewpoint, and it was on page 27. And then finally, part 3 shows a response to the researched evidence. Sample 3 reads, "In his article, 'Global Warming is a Serious Threat to Humanity's Future,' Mark Lynas, the author of High Tide, News from a Warming World, argues that in other parts of the world, flooding, drought, and sea level rise are forcing people to leave their homes, creating environmental refugees." 1, 2, 3. It is important for us to consider this point because mass displacement of human life could have severe consequences for communities all around the globe. Again, a third example where we have the author information and source information introduced. We have for part 2, the verb argues leads into part 2. We have to have that verb there, and ends with a citation. 123 is probably the page number within his publication where the information occurred. And then part 3 shows us the importance of that fact. Okay, Avid students, now it's your turn to give it a try for your leadership research project. Go ahead and use the 3-part source integration template to fill in the tables and give it a try.